my lovelies, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back with my brand new camera. I'm so excited to be filming with it. My husband got this for me back around Christmas, and I have yet to use it for filming, so we are here now. We are doing a good old-fashioned reading roundup, which I'm so excited to share with you. I do these kind of seasonally, except the last time I did one was 6 months ago. If this is your first time here, my name is Amy and I'm a cruelty-free makeup enthusiast, but I do love books and all things aesthetics and film as well. So these are all the books that I've recently read. I do have some audiobooks to share with you too. So in no particular order, I'm just going to go from the top and kind of go through and just give you some thoughts of mine that I have on these reads. The first one that I have to share with you is by Alix Harrow. This is the 10,000 Doors of January. I really enjoyed this. This is about January Scholar. She is a young woman, kind of like about 100 plus years ago, and she lives in this mansion with this very generous man who employs her father, and there's a lot of mysterious things that are in the collectibles of this mansion. Her father goes out and collects all these interesting artifacts for him, and she finds out that she has the ability to open doors, and it starts from a book that she finds mysteriously in this collection, and there are many doors that leads to many places. There was intrigue in this, there was romance, there was mystery in it, and I thought this was a lot of fun. I read Alix Harrow's other book. It was something with the witches. What was it called? The Once and Future Witches by Alix Harrow was another book that I read last year. I enjoy her writing. I actually think this one is superior to her other book. So I gave this actually 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. The next book I have is A Brush with Death. This is by Ali Carter. She is a first-time novelist. This takes place in Britain. There's a character, Susie Mall, who is actually an artist, and she does portraits for animals, which I think is just the sweetest thing. And so she is hired to do a portrait session for this family, and it's kind of like Agatha Christie, a little bit of Downton Abbey. It's this very rich family that employs her, and then a murder happens while she is there, and so she, while painting this portrait of this family's dog, ends up going on this kind of really big mystery and intrigue again, and also she is a sleuth. She decides that she wants to figure out who committed this murder out of these family members and why. This was really cute. I ended up getting this as part of a book club that actually my boss at work got me on. It's like a mystery novel book club, and so I get them seasonally. So this was really fun. It's not the strongest written, but I think it's a really fun, interesting concept and a pretty strong start for a new author. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. The next book, Ninth House. This is by Leigh Bardugo. I think it's Bardugo or Bardugo. You may know Leigh. They've done a lot more fantasy books in the past, and her Shadow and Bone series has actually been adapted to a Netflix show, which I have yet to see. But her Grishna universe is something that I've been wanting to kind of dive deeper into. I have the rest of her books, but I read Six of Crows. That was a really good dual series as well. But this one actually takes place in our universe, here in our world. And this one's much more adult than her other books. I think Leigh is a woman, I'm not sure. So I should say their other books. And this one takes place actually in New Haven at Yale, with the secret societies like Skull and Bones, Scroll and Key, all these like mysterious secret societies that are at Yale. And as someone who is from Connecticut and has walked the grounds of Yale and stuff, and I just find this really fascinating. It's about a woman, Alix Stern, and she actually sees dead people, and she is an unlikely member of the Yale freshman class. When these secret societies tend to tamper with forbidden magic, she's kind of hired to keep these ghosts, these dead figures at bay, because they tend to attract dead people and dead spirits when they take part in these rituals. There's a murder that happens in this as well, and she really wants to figure out what happened, and this book is so incredibly well written. It's shocking, to say the least. Some things that happen in this book I have never read in any other book before. I just think that this person is an extraordinary writer. I need the second book to come out ASAP. It has been announced, but I just found myself wanting more. I couldn't put it down. This book is scary, it's intriguing. It's funny because right when I started reading this book, I had just finished binging some episodes where Rory and Gilmore Girls was doing an expose on the secret societies at Yale, which I thought was really funny too. It's how everything kind of is connected, but really, really good. I can't say enough good things out of it. 5 out of 5 stars. Another book that I gave 5 out of 5 stars because I think it's fantastic. This is Circe by Madeline Miller. I read The Song of Achilles last year and I thought it was one of the best books I've read, like easily top 20 favorite books that I've ever read. And so I was intrigued to read this one. And Circe is about the daughter of Helios, and Helios is the titan of the sun, and he brings the sun to people. She ends up actually showing a kindness to Prometheus. So if you know anything about Greek mythology, Prometheus loved humankind and he wanted to help them and be amongst the people and show them how to do things so they could advance, which was strictly prohibited by Zeus. So because she shows him kindness and because she's a little bit different, she ends up getting banished to her own island. And this is just a really cool retelling of a goddess's story as hundreds of years go by, her experiences with really famous people in mythology, her relationships with other gods and goddesses, and I just really, really enjoyed this. Circe is a very likable character, and I find myself feeling very frustrated for her. And I find that a lot of the Greek gods and goddesses, they're jerks most of the time. They do a lot of stuff. They see everything else as their playthings. And Madeline Miller has a degree, a master's in the classics, and I just think she writes so well. So if you want to learn about mythology, but in a very entertaining way, I think this is incredibly well done, and I highly recommend her books. I really like this one, not as much as I like Song of Achilles, but this was a really good one. Late last summer, I had visited a bookstore up in Burlington, Vermont, and I think the name of it was Phoenix Books. So if you're ever up that way, if you're in the US and ever take a visit, I highly recommend this place. It was super cool. They had all the new releases there, including this that had been something on TikTok for quite some time that I kept seeing on Book Talk, especially with a little bit of spicy Book Talk as well. This is by Casey McQuiston. This is Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is an LGBTQ book, and this is about the son of the President of the United States, and he ends up falling in love. It's a romance with the Prince of Wales. This is so cool. It's so witty. It's very, very funny. It's quick. I kept wanting to read more. It's very sexy as well. I think the romance parts in this and the other sexy parts of this is very steamy, but I just wanted to really dive into this. I thought this was so well written, and it has a lot of hype, and I think it's definitely deserved of that. Their relationship, they end up kind of coming together as these Instagram bro best friends, and they're kind of hiding this secret romantic relationship with one another. But again, if you want just something that is, even though it's quite a substantial book, I mean, it's not huge, but it's a pretty good sized book that's romantic, very smart, has a little bit of politics involved in it too, then I highly recommend this. I think I gave this a 4 out of 5. I really, really enjoyed this, and I would like to read other books by this author. Next, we have The Lost Apothecary. This was another very hyped book that I kind of came across on Book Talk. This is by Sarah Penner, and it's not a very big book. I absolutely love the artwork on this, and this is a story, it kind of takes place in 2 different time periods. One is with a character named Caroline. She's kind of going through a really difficult time in her personal life, so she comes to London. She loves learning about history. She does a thing which I forgot what it's called, is it called mud raking? I can't remember. If I know the word, I'll list it down below in the description. But basically, that's when the London tides at the Thames kind of runs a little bit low. It's low tide, and a lot of stuff that's been thrown into the Thames over the years kind of comes up, and people kind of go through mudlarking. I want to say it's called mudlarking. I'm pretty confident, and people can find things like glass or any type of thing that people have thrown into the river over hundreds of years. Something that she finds is actually an apothecary jar to this mysterious apothecary shop. And so back hundreds of years before, there used to be an apothecary, and she actually gave vials to people. The character's name is Nellie, I believe, or Nella. Nella, that's what it is. And she has poisons that she gives out to women for kind of difficult husbands to get out of certain situations. So it's like Aqua Tofana in a way. Have any of you watched Bailey Sarian? Those Aqua Tofana murders, those are wild. Highly recommend watching Bailey's videos, by the way, if you're interested in true crime. But Nella actually has a young woman, Eliza, who comes by, and she's an orphan, and I think she's like 12 years old, and she ends up teaching her the ways of the apothecary. And it's like this mysterious apothecary. There's these famous murders that happened that are associated with this apothecary. And so back to present time with Caroline, she tries to figure out the mystery of this apothecary and trying to connect it all. Not worth the hype. I found myself very disappointed by the ending. I feel like they could have gone a lot further with this, and so I was just disappointed by the way it ended. I feel like there could have been more done with this. There was a lot of potential with this book about this apothecary, and it just kind of ended oddly, and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more of a connection, but I thought it was really cool how the author kind of weaved these two stories of these women through time together. It just wasn't enough. I just wanted them to take it one more step. But the writing's not bad. It could have just been more. So I only gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I read Elton John's autobiography. He called it Me, and it's really all just about his life. I don't read too many autobiographies, a lot more biographies, I should say, but I really enjoyed his writing. I think he was very, very honest about his life. You know, he came from very working class, modest, humble beginnings. Honestly, his parents were kind of nightmares. His mother especially was kind of a nightmare, but his father was not a nice man. He abused him while he was a child. I found just how he found his love of music as a young person, and just the story of how he got piano lessons, and then how he became pretty much like a prodigy at a young age, how he started writing music, writing songs, going on tour very young, and all the people that influenced him while he was on tour, just music that he fell in love with, specifically people like Leon Russell, who he ended up doing an album with back in like, I want to say maybe 2009, 2010, and that's a really good album. But I love Elton John. I grew up on his music, and I just really love how honest he is with his background, because the man had issues with drugs and alcohol and bulimia, and he's unapologetic about it while being apologetic about certain things he did, but it's just who he is. You know, his crazy shopping sprees, collections of art and music and all that kind of stuff. He's just a fascinating person. He puts a lot of personal stories with a lot of famous people that he's known and experiences that he had with him. So you'll hear things about John Lennon in here. There's stuff about Freddie Mercury in here. Bowie is in here. One of his friendships that I really love, that I find very funny, is with Rod Stewart. They kind of came up around the same time and had obviously equal success, but they're very playful with one another, with if like someone's album is selling better than the other one, and just the teasing of that. But he's very aware about the music industry. He has his finger on the pulse, and I think that's why he's stayed so relevant through his life and over, you know, a 40-year career. And I just really enjoyed this. Again, it was very honest, so I recommend this book. 4 out of 5 stars. I listened to 2 audiobooks via Audible over the past few months. One of them was actually Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. He retells the classical Norse mythologies in here, and it's just such a joy to listen to him reading. He's a wonderful narrator. He gives a lot of great passion in it. He does all these different voices for these characters. So if you ever want to know about Norse mythology and about the Allfather Odin and how it's kind of connected into present day and how these stories have kind of been told through generations, I found it very enjoyable. I listened to it quite quickly, so 4 out of 5 stars for that one. The next book that I listened to was The Book Charmer by Karen Hawkins. This was a nice, very sweet, simple book. It's another book about a southern town, which I read last summer at midnight at the Blackbird Cafe, and it kind of seemed very similar in style. This one is about a woman who's been very successful. The woman who raised her basically has become very ill and she's old, so she moves back to this kind of old southern town, and it's pretty much like dying. This town doesn't have much going on. They're trying to rebuild it, so they hire her as someone who has done like PR and things like that and marketing to try to get the town back up and running. The town that she moves to is called Dove Pond, and there's been this family there for hundreds of years called the Doves, and these two twin sisters are there, and one of them actually can hear books talking, and that's the whole kind of intrigue of the story, is that books talk to her. And it's very funny in the way it's written. Really old books will kind of be really old and sleepy most of the time. They'll snore quietly, but then they'll be like, hey, you need this book, you need to give this book to people, and there's all different reasons why that happens. So there's a little bit of this kind of very, very small underlining kind of magical mystery part of this book. I wish that the author had leaned into this more, because it's in the book throughout the book, but then you'll read or listen to a bunch of pages and it's not mentioned at all. It's just kind of something in the background of the story. But it was very, very sweet. Again, the voice actors that they had hired, I think, were very decent. I was intrigued and wanted to know. So if you want something that's very cozy, very sweet, that has a little bit of something different to it, then I think it was enjoyable. So I think I gave this about 3 out of 5 stars. Alrighty, my lovelies, thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Let me know what kind of books you've read recently, or if you've read any of these. Do you enjoy them? What are you currently reading? I will leave all the links to my social media below, including my Goodreads. So if you want to be friends, we could follow one another and see what we are reading. If you made it this far, comment a little peach emoji down in the comments below, because you are sweet as a peach. And until next time, remember to stay compassionate and chic. Mwah. Bye!